she has now revealed that that information came direct from Meghan's ex-husband, Trevor Engelson, via an intermediary.
Trevor Engelson, the Hollywood producer who once shared a life and a last name with Meghan Markle, has spent years being conveniently written out of the royal
Harry once said Meghan gets whatever she wants.
The moment Prince Harry stepped into the spotlight that day, something felt different, and even people who weren't paying close attention could sense it. It wasn't just another royal appearance, not just another wave to the cameras or carefully rehearsed smile, because this time there was a hesitation in his movement, a slight pause before he faced the crowd, like he was carrying something heavier than the usual pressure that comes with being watched by the entire world. And what made it even more intense was that this moment didn't come out of nowhere. It followed a wave of whispers that had already started spreading online. Whispers that began with someone from Meghan's past, someone who had remained silent for years, her ex-husband, a man who had never really inserted himself into the chaos before, but suddenly began making comments that people couldn't ignore. At first, those comments didn't seem explosive. They were subtle, almost philosophical, talking about choices, about things people leave behind when they reinvent themselves, about how the past doesn't always stay in the past. And maybe on their own those words wouldn't have meant much, but timing changes everything. And this time the timing made people look closer, listen harder, and question more deeply than ever before. As the internet started connecting dots, the speculation grew faster than anyone could control, because that's how it works now. One vague statement can turn into 1,000 theories overnight. And soon people weren't just discussing his words, they were building entire narratives around them. Old interviews resurfaced. Forgotten details were brought back into the spotlight. And timelines that once seemed irrelevant suddenly became the center of attention. And then came the phrase that changed everything. Not confirmed, not proven, but powerful enough to explode across social media like wildfire. An abandoned child. Just those two words were enough to shift the entire conversation from curiosity to obsession, because now it wasn't just about a past relationship or personal choices. It became something far more serious, something that made people question everything they thought they knew. And right in the middle of all this noise, all this speculation, all these growing theories, stood Prince Harry, a man who had always defended his wife publicly, who had stood strong against criticism, who had made it clear that he would protect his family no matter what. But now his reactions were being watched more closely than ever. And people began noticing small changes that were hard to explain away. His expressions didn't seem as relaxed, his smile felt slightly forced, and his body language carried a tension that hadn't been there before. And while none of this proved anything, it added fuel to a fire that was already out of control. Then came the moment that truly sent everything into another level. A short clip from a public appearance that people couldn't stop replaying, analyzing, and questioning. It started normally, just another interaction with the press, another routine exchange, until a question was asked that seemed to catch him off guard. There was a pause, brief but noticeable, followed by a laugh that didn't sound natural. It sounded like someone trying to buy time, trying to hold composure. And then came the part that people focused on the most, the shift in his eyes, the way he looked away. The split-second moment where it seemed like emotion almost broke through. He turned his face, composed himself quickly, and continued as if nothing had happened. But the cameras had already captured enough, and once something like that is out there, it takes on a life of its own. The clip spread everywhere, across platforms, across headlines, across conversations, and suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Some people believed it was just stress, the result of constant public pressure and endless scrutiny, while others saw it as something deeper, something connected to the rumors that refused to go away. And while all of this was happening, Meghan remained completely silent. No statements, no denials, no clarifications, nothing to directly address what was being said. And that silence became one of the loudest parts of the entire situation, because in moments like this, silence doesn't calm things down. It makes people wonder even more. It makes them fill in the gaps with their own assumptions, their own interpretations, their own theories. And just when it seemed like things might start to fade, the ex-husband spoke again, not directly confirming anything, not giving clear answers, but saying enough to keep the conversation alive, talking about how truth has a way of surfacing, How certain decisions follow you no matter how far you go. How reinvention comes with a cost. And once again, his words weren't direct accusations. But they didn't feel random either. They felt intentional, carefully chosen, and placed into a moment where they would have the most impact. For Harry, the pressure seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. Because now, it wasn't just external criticism. It felt personal. Deeply personal. And people began wondering what was happening behind closed doors. What conversations were taking place away from the cameras? What questions were being asked in private that the public would never hear? Was he learning about these rumors at the same time as everyone else? Or had there been discussions long before any of this became public? Was he shocked, confused, hurt, or simply trying to navigate a situation that had spiraled beyond control? No one had those answers, but the emotional weight was becoming harder to ignore. Then came another appearance, another moment where all eyes were on him, waiting to see if there would be any sign, any hint, any clue about what he was thinking or feeling. And this time, he didn't hide it as well. His tone was slower, more careful, his words chosen with noticeable precision. And while he still didn't confirm or deny anything directly, he said something that stayed with people long after the moment passed. Something that felt less like a statement and more like a glimpse into his reality. He said, "Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones you never saw coming." And that single line echoed everywhere, not because of what it confirmed, but because of how it sounded. The pause before he spoke, the slight crack in his voice, the look in his eyes that suggested there was more beneath the surface than he was willing or able to say. It didn't feel scripted. It didn't feel like a prepared response. It felt real. And that's what made it powerful. Because real moments are the ones people connect with, the ones they believe, even when they don't fully understand them. From that point on, the story only grew larger, drawing in more attention, more speculation, more debate, with some people dismissing everything as baseless rumor, while others became more convinced that there was a deeper truth waiting to be revealed. And through all of it, one question remained at the center of everything, unanswered but impossible to ignore. What is the truth, and will it ever fully come to light? Or will it remain one of those stories that exist somewhere between reality and speculation, never fully confirmed, never completely denied, but always lingering, always present, always just out of reach, always